Today's talk, hosted by Homes and Gardens, is titled Dream Spaces. We are thrilled to be joined by two celebrated US designers, Joy Moyler and Rayman Boozer. Joy Moyler has a fabulous dining room in Wow House this year, which hopefully you've had a chance to visit in the Design Avenue. And Rayman Boozer is a wowzer because he took part in Wow House last year in the very first edition where he had the principal bedroom. Huge thanks to Sarah Spitelli, who's moderating the talk, and to the Design Club for hosting us. If you could please turn your phones on silent, that would be much appreciated. And we placed some brochures from TP Carrier Spaces, who are our Wow House charity partner, if you'd like to find out a little bit more about them. Thank you so much and enjoy the talk.
Welcome everyone. I'm so delighted to be here with Rayman and Joy. They're kind of just favourites of mine. At Homes and Gardens, we look a lot to the US for inspiration and actually kind of drive a lot of our audiences. A lot of our audiences exist in America now, as kind of magazines become more global, so it's particularly exciting for me to engage with them today. And I think what I would like us to talk about, we'll talk for about 45 minutes, just to set some expectations. We'll talk for about 45 minutes and then we'll do 15 minutes of questions at the end. So yeah, we'd love to hear from everybody as well. What kind of I'm hoping to cover is sort of individualism and kind of the importance of that, and I think anybody who's just walked through the Wow House kind of will have got that sense of how, vastly individual rooms can be. Obviously, we want to talk about colour and using colour to bring joy to spaces, and I think another thing which is close to Rayman and Joy's heart, which is craftsmanship. So those are the kind of three areas that I'm going to use to shape today's conversation. We'll obviously be talking about their wow spaces, but also their work in general. We've got some lovely images kind of rolling through here, so yeah, you might have specific questions about those, which would be fine too. To open, there's two things. Raymond's done this with me before, so he's going to have to do it again. I always like designers to kind of introduce themselves, to kind of give a little bit of a précis of their work and kind of what's important to them, and then I'm going to ask them a question about their kind of styles personally, again, so you just kind of get to know them a little bit better. They might be new to you or very familiar, but yeah.
I'm Joy Moyler. I'm from New York born and bred, yay! And my career started in architecture, so architecture is always the starting point in all of my projects. I look at the space from a 3D with respect to proportion and scale, and then I start working on the decorative liner from that perspective, which for me is the best part of the process to better understand the environment and what it can take and what it can't take. So I migrated from interiors, from architecture to interiors, because I guess I was nosy and I kind of tired of doing just architectural drawings, and I really wanted to get more into the decorative bits about textiles and art and how you really fashion someone's life and how the importance of their environment makes them feel whole and inspired to go out into the world and be their best self.
Great, thank you. Raymond.
That was lovely.
Thank you, Raymond.
I'm Rayman. I have a company called Apartment 48 Interior Design, and I've been doing this for a while, like Joy. We actually go way back. We kind of do a little different, a little bit more like organic approach to interiors. I like a lot of color. I like the idea of creating rooms that feel really comfortable, that evoke a sense of ease. So in my interiors, you're gonna see super bright colors. You're gonna see that everything is like really relaxed. I think it's so funny because Joy worked at Ralph Lauren. I was influenced a lot by Ralph Lauren, the way that they put rooms together that felt like somebody already lived there. And that's always my goal, is to make a room that feels like really livable, but also very upbeat. And it's really also important for me to be like optimistic, and I work with people that I think I'm gonna like working with. I think it's hard for me to have a client who doesn't like color, a client who doesn't want pattern on pattern on pattern. I mean, I do a lot of that.
You just have to kill them, that's all.
Yeah. I think the goal is to try to improve the world by making pretty rooms.
Great, thank you. When you were describing to me your vision for your room is that you wanted it to be really comfortable. Mm-hmm. And I kind of would love you to explain to everybody what you mean by that and what kind of comfort is today, because I think possibly it's evolved quite considerably from what classically people might think of as comfortable.
Comfortable to me means scale. You walk into a room and the ceiling isn't 14 feet tall, no disrespect to this room, but particularly in a dining experience, the room is at a measurable height, so you feel that you aren't being swathed and overtaken by the scale of the room. But also in the dining room, I have ultra suede walls, velvet chairs, and velvet walls, because I want you to feel like you're being hugged, and if you decided to drink too much and roll around naked on all that velvet, you feel really, really good. True luxury and comfort, right?
I think she's really good at doing a really stealth luxury. Like, she puts these elements in that you don't notice them at first, like the suede walls. It's like understated, but like really lush. You know what I mean? It's a way of like showing off, but not really showing.
Because you're a genius, you would say that.
I know what to say.
What is the last piece of furniture that you bought for yourself, for your home?
Oh my gosh. For myself, oh goodness. It was a headboard. I have two cats, Nina and Simone, and they literally, I went to get a dog, went to the pound to get a dog, ended up with two cats instead, and not having had cats before, I had no idea how they responded to textiles. So yeah, and they strangely loved to sit up on the headboard, and they worked it up. So that's the latest thing I had to get for myself. But I love them, and I'm allergic to them, and my husband and I, we wake up every morning and we can't breathe, but we have to keep them, so.
That's funny.
And Rayman, can you tell us your first design memory?
Oh wow, yeah, that's easy for me. My first memory of design was when I was really small. I saw the show called I Dream of Jeannie. I think you might have it here too.
We did, yeah.
And there was an episode where he made her go to her bottle, and when I saw that, I was probably 5 or 6 years old. My head like was going to explode. I was like, what did I just see? It was like all these pillows in a circle, and I was like, what is that? What is that? And it still sticks with me. Like, you'll see like all of my staff. It was inside of her bottle, and it's like a banquette that goes all the way around with like pillows and the colors. And I was just like, oh my God, I want to go there. And now my staff still says, like, I Dream of Jeannie, you can see it in my work. I'm like throwing a pillow on another pillow, and it's like another pattern and another pattern. Because I'm always trying to evoke that feeling. When I was like small and I saw that, it was just like a moment that something clicked in my head, and I was like, what is that?
Well, we can never put you back in a bottle, and I'm happy about that.
Yeah, it's too late.
Too late.
Great, thank you. So let's talk about your room first. Will you give us kind of, what was your intention with your dining room? What did you want? I know we talked about the importance of evoking emotion. Yeah, can you kind of sum up for
There are
us?
actually two really important things to me about the design of the dining room. The first, of course, is everybody that knows me knows what a nut I am about craftsmanship. And actually, Sabine is here, and we did a live a few years ago. And just talking about craftsmanship, I started boo-hooing like a baby in this video, because it's just extremely emotional for me to work with people who do things with their hands, who've committed their entire lives to creating things and understanding the rewards and the history that comes from crafting something that has such a long shelf life. And so my approach to the dining room was, I knew that I wanted to have a true sense of craftsmanship in the room, so it started with the thatched ceiling. And being here in England, I knew that I wanted to have a thatched element. And it was a major challenge of how to create this and bring it to fruition. But through the Quest organization, we were able to bring in a master thatcher who created this layered thatch within 2.5 days. And I'm extremely proud of the way that it turned out. The second inspiration was, I come from a fashion background, largely having worked with Giorgio Armani and Ralph Lauren, and I love Christian Dior as well, and I love the color red, and
It's true.
I found this 1940s image of Christian Dior in his atelier, and the walls were red with red upholstery, and it captured my heart. I just said, okay, I don't know what's going to happen between there and there, but this much space has to be red. But you, of course, have to be very aware of the scale and the use of the red, because if the entire dining room had been red, it would have looked like a bordello, like, so you have to be kind of careful about that. But that that was it. Christian Dior and the importance of craftsmanship, and to that extent as well, the craftsmanship is also well placed with the screen, the not screen, but the wrought iron blue gates in front of the image of Portofino. And the third thing is a lovely textile craft by Hannah White from Quest.
Thank you. And of course, Rayman, you had a fabulous room with us here last year. Maybe you could talk about your here we go.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe you could tell us a little about that.
Yeah, I like the room a lot. I work a lot with the idea of having a concept, and sometimes I'm inspired by movies or TV shows, and I decided to use this movie from the 90s called The Pillow Book as my inspiration. So I had like sort of like Asian influences, but I wanted to feel like a little bit French and a lot English. Like one of my favorite places to visit is like Castle Howard, and that's because of the Brideshead, series, and then they did the Brideshead movie there, so I had to go there. So I wanted these like door frames and like pediments and things to feel like really grand, because that's how I think England is, So I thought that's a moment, but I was gonna decide to do bright colors. So I told Gabby, who was helping me with everything, I want to do purple and then do orange in the ceiling, and everybody thought it was crazy, but I'd already put the colors out in my apartment. I was like, this works. But what I wanted is I wanted to make sure that people remembered what I did. Like a lot of people did really pretty rooms, like every year people do really pretty rooms, and I think that everybody knows we know how to decorate. We know how to make a nice room, but how do you make a room that's memorable? So you have to do something unexpected, like the orange ceiling was super unexpected. And the idea for me, I'm really pretty much a contemporary designer, but I use a lot of antiques because I think of England as antique world. And Gabby found great resources for antiques, and we're able to do Albert Kelly loaned us this beautiful mirror. It's just it was an opportunity for me to show that I know how to do things with antique furniture, and I can also take a room that's really big and make it feel really small by putting the bed in the middle. Do you know what I mean? Make it intimate and kind of sexy. And I also went really dark because I'm always about optimism and bright colors. And I decided to do dark and sexy and do a bathtub and a rug company rug. It's so funny because I've done a show house in New York in the Hamptons, and I asked for the same rug, and they said no. But the people in England said yes. So they gave me the rug with the bird, the queen rug. I wanted that rug forever and ever, and they let me use it, and I was so happy.
And I guess obviously for you both, the concept of the show house is much more familiar. For us, this is it's the second year. But the Wow House, we haven't really had anything like that for a long time. When you create these showrooms, how different is it to kind of your day-to-day process?
Do you want to answer that?
We both can.
It's completely different.
This is interesting because you asked me about show houses, plural. I've not done show houses. This is the first one I've done. And I'm on the board of Kips Bay in New York and Palm Beach, and they ask me all the time to participate in the show house. I always say no.
Yeah.
So now they're saying, I don't understand, you're across the pond and you've done this, but you've not done one for us. But, so I don't really know. I just know that I wasn't working with a sponsor, so I had essentially the freedom to do whatever I wanted, and that always kind of makes me happy, because even though, we are designers, our clients are still, issuing their directive, because clients are extremely knowledgeable. They read all of the magazines, and they become very, very well versed in who the makers are and all of this. So, you try to be able to use as much of everything as you like, and this was an opportunity for me to do that without someone. Gabby never said no to me, except the fact we knew that was going to be a challenge, but she never said no.
Right.
She did. She gets it all done. That woman's a powerhouse. I'm going to put her in my purse and take her home with me.
And how about you, Rayman? Because obviously you're a bit of a veteran when it comes to show.
Yeah, I've done 4 show houses. You'd asked me to do the Kips Bay thing, but
yes, you always say no to me.
It's funny. Yeah, she asked me to do Dallas and Florida,
Palm Beach.
But it was easier to do a show house in London than for me to picture myself going to Florida and do a show house. It's just I can't picture how that's going to work.
You get on a plane and you just kind of do what you do.
But yeah, it's very different because in a show house you can do whatever you want.
Now you can't tell me no because if you can come
I know, all these people heard it, yeah.
Witnesses!
You can do basically what you want within reason, whereas you don't have a client, so your brief can be whatever you want. Like I said, I use a pillow book. One time I did the Durrells in Corfu. I did Show House in the Hamptons, and I based it all in a series because during the pandemic, I spent so much time watching television in my apartment by myself. I watched that whole series like twice over, and I was like, this could be something, you know, this could be a story. And I showed it to my staff, Kevin, who works with me. He watched it too, and he's like, yeah, there's something here. So we did a room based on that family's house, and it was beautiful. I mean, I'm proud of it. I think it's the smartest thing I've ever done is to do like something so immersive with all the animals and birds and stuff, but not in the gimmicky kind of like reference way, but like kind of poetic in a way. I think I'm a genius.
Yes, we're going to hear that a lot from now on.
And I think what's interesting, you know, from a sort of from a non-designer's perspective, is kind of how powerful it is to interact with your work in the space, and how, you know, evocative, and this, even this, the fragrancing, the music, the kind of
I
whole
agree.
picture that
Tells the
you,
story.
The music in her room was really like setting the tone. I felt like I was in a real place, and we were sitting down there at the table.
Oh, that's right.
You
We were
know.
having drinks there last night.
Yeah.
And then we were tempted to go to the tattle room and tattle.
Yeah, exactly. I have nothing to tattle about. Yeah.
No,
I wanted to hear some
but I
gossip.
don't
We'd
really
ask,
have any,
we'd
but-
ask for gossip.
Okay.
But yeah, that was very successful. The music makes such a difference. And I love that the show house does it because they don't always have that in the
Yeah.
show houses.
yeah. And thinking back to the house downstairs, then, do either of you have a highlight that you, or a memorable moment of kind of creating a memorable? You know, would you each say that you have something that's particularly memorable from this year's experience?
I mean, just being able to do the thatching to me and watching it constructed and the layers upon layers of material that were used, and the sort of surprise that came out of that by being able to sort of expose those wispy, weedy bits as well, just adding more layer and dimension to it. I'm just thoroughly excited. I mean, I just love seeing that level of craftsmanship in my lifetime.
Yeah, I love that too.
Yeah.
I loved her room. I thought it was beautiful.
Thank you.
But there are a lot of highlights in the show
But you're a
house.
genius, so you.
I'm a genius. I'm a genius, and they didn't have to decorate any rooms. They just
Yeah.
show up.
Tell us a bit more about Quest. You know, you mentioned that you obviously work closely with them to deliver the thatching. Tell people might not be generally familiar. Tell us about that.
It's the Queen's Trust. Please explain.
Queen
Okay.
Elizabeth Scholarship Trust.
Thank you. I always get that mixed up, so I'd rather have someone who truly knows. It's a complete organization of craftspeople of various disciplines, such as millinery, saddlery, textile crafts, all sorts of things, and the talent level is absolutely incredible. Such a resource that I will definitely commit myself to using for other projects throughout the UK as time permits. And just beyond talent, you know, people who give their heart to making things, and there's Joe the Thatcher's soul is in that ceiling, you know, his soul is in that ceiling. Okay.
She's gonna cry.
No, but it's true. You know, these are crafts that could so easily be lost in
Yeah.
the world of, mass
Why do we
production
think
and
that's
such.
important? Why do we think all of us probably, you know, kind of unanimously agree that we want to preserve those?
Well, it's
traditional
important
crafts?
because everything that is in this building is something that started from an idea. It's something that started from a concept somewhere, and it started from a little drawing or a little, someone sitting in a pile of wood and carving things. And I think that sort of exploration and development is something that's lost. That process along the lines is lost. And with, social media and the world of everything becoming so instantly delivered, the craftsmanship of, forging metal that takes, 3 months to make a piece this big is lost within our industry. And it simply too is because clients want things quick, and people don't often want to wait 6 months for a piece of wrought iron to be forged. So when you are able to work with a craftsman who does something like that, I think that that's something we have to give honor to. It's been a pilgrimage to get to that point, and so these crafts need to be respected, supported, and kept alive.
Rayman, you had a Fromental in your room last year. You
Yeah.
had an amazing
We had
Fromental.
an amazing silk back hand painted with gold wallpaper that was all done to scale for the room, and it was all hand painted in China. These people did an amazing job painting these little birds, and they'd asked me, do you want to get the printed wallpaper because it'll be so much faster? And I said, no, I want the real foam and gold wallpaper.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. It almost didn't make it in time, but it was just days before, the day before it showed up, and we panicked because we thought there wasn't enough gold. But it was just a reflection of the room because it was so dark. It was just it was worth it. It was worth it. Another thing about that room is the whole ceiling, we call them crown moldings, we call them cornices, was all plaster, which I thought was so unnecessary because nobody would know that it's plaster. But here, in America, we wouldn't even bother with that because you're going to paint it purple anyway. So nobody would know. But the people who made it, they knew, and they made all these plaster things to fit that room. It was just really impressive.
And something else we were going to talk about today was kind of comfort. And I think, Joy, when you were describing to me your vision for your room is that you wanted it to be really comfortable. Mm-hmm. And I kind of would love you to explain to everybody what you mean by that and what kind of comfort is today. Because I think possibly it's evolved quite considerably from what classically people might think of as comfortable.
Comfortable to me means scale. You walk into a room and the ceiling isn't 14 feet tall. No disrespect to this room, but particularly in a dining experience, the room is at a measurable height, so you feel that you aren't being swathed and overtaken by the scale of the room. But also in the dining room, I have ultra suede walls, velvet chairs, and velvet walls because I want you to feel like you're being hugged, and if you decided to drink too much and roll around naked on all that velvet, you feel really, really good. True luxury and comfort, right?
I think she's really good at doing a really stealth luxury. She puts these elements in that you don't notice them at first, like the suede walls. It's understated, but really lush. You know what I mean? It's a way of showing off, but not really showing.
Because you're a genius, you would say that.
I know, I know what to say.
And what does comfort then mean for you in your rooms?
For me, I need things to feel homey. All of my interiors are comfortable. Even if I think they're really glamorous, it still needs to be comfortable. One of my analogies is that I like to have a place, like my apartment, where if you're wearing jeans and a t-shirt, you feel comfortable, but if you're wearing a tuxedo, you're not at a place. So I need it to feel it ticks all the boxes, all the furniture's there in the right places and the combination. But when people walk in, they know they can relax. They're gonna take their shoes off, but they're gonna be able to relax and then, enjoy themselves. I think that all my clients come to me because they know that I don't know how I do it, maybe because I'm a genius, but I seem to understand how to evoke a sense of calm in people. I tend to calm people down. I don't know how I do it, but I can create those rooms, like that room. I'm just there's just a table and chairs in there, it's just that's all, no curtains, I love doing curtains though, but it was the Hamptons, so you don't need that.
And what role do you both see colour in having kind of the atmosphere of a room?
I think color right now, you see it everywhere because particularly after the pandemic, people need to see that sort of vitality everywhere in their lives. As a sense of renewal, a sense of just kind of being, I don't know, just to feel good, just to feel good.
Yeah, color is really important to me. It's hard for me to do a room without color. And I always try to match myself with clients that I think are going to be a good fit. A lot of times people will hire me unless they want me to push them into color, but they don't, so then it's a struggle,
And what happens there? Have you got to the position where you felt you can't progress with a client?
It's happened before, but what I have to do is I have people that help me. And what I have to do is say, this is not the client. She thought she wanted this, but she doesn't. So white walls, white furniture, white everything, But It's okay, those, you just don't see them on our website.
Yeah, you don't photograph those
They're-
rooms because they don't
yeah.
have your brand, darling.
Right, my brand is Rainbow.
Your brand is Rainbow.
This is not a rainbow, and it's hard to, that is my brand.
And then so, well, are there colours that you're, if you're designing for yourselves or, particularly drawn to?
I love red, so I'm sorry. I don't have a lot of it in my own home, particularly not on walls, but it's definitely in all the artwork, it's prevalent there on a couple of cushions, as you say here, right? Cushions? Yeah, things like that, handbags, lots of red handbags, and, that sort of thing. And that red phone is coming home with me.
And Raymond,
Yeah.
you?
I love blue.
Blue.
Like this shade of blue that you're wearing is like my favorite color.
Is this the colour of the wall in your apartment behind?
Yeah, the whole,
And my
I have a whole
gates. And
custom
your gates.
built in that color.
Yeah.
Blue is something that people come to me for a lot. A lot of people see that millwork on my website and they kind of want the same thing. We're doing a bookcase for another client now, like in the Upper West Side, and we're doing millwork in Chicago, same shade of blue. They're all different, they're more colors, but they all basically read the same. Blue's my favorite.
Yeah. And both of you both said that you've been, doing this for a fairly long time. Do you think your kind of colour sensibilities have evolved significantly?
No, I'm 30 years in. I still love red. I work for some other firms who maybe were not supporters of red, but it's my personal favorite.
Yeah.
I've worked for like Skidmore, Owings and Merrill, which is an extremely modernist architectural firm, mostly black and white, and buff colors, like the walls in my dining room. And there have been other firms. I worked for another firm, John Saladino, who is the king of pastel colors. And it's changed over there. Ralph Lauren loves blue and gold. But, and the benefit of working with other firms for me, being a corporate girl, I thought I would always work at other firms, not having any interest in having my own business, was that I really wanted to understand why people gravitated towards other things and why they became signatures with particular designers. And then I sort of reversed it and did kind of my own thing, even though you always take those influences, I think, from other people along the way.
Yeah.
I consider them, learning experiences, and many of them are good lessons, so why not encompass that thought as well?
Yeah, I agree. She's a lot more technical than I am. I experimented a lot with color. I had a shop for 18 years and I would repaint it every 4 months and change everything. It was always like bright colors. It was like a laboratory. I had a lot of opportunity to try like different things, try a pink bedroom, try a green, yellow, and I kind of became known as a person who's like a color expert. But initially I was not an expert. I was just like riffing. What I would do is go to Home Depot, I don't know if you have that here, and they have paint that's on sale for like $1 because people mix colors, they don't like it, and I would buy those paints. So I'd say, we have a gallon of this, then this is gonna be this color, and the theme will be purple, And then people would come in and react. I had a lot of positive reaction from that shop, and that kind of led to me. I studied interiors in college, and had a degree, but I didn't really do interiors. I thought I'd do a shop, and that would be my thing. But it evolved into the whole interior design business.
It's probably interesting, well, it's certainly interesting for me to hear that both of you from a business perspective, kind of maybe some of the challenges that you're facing now as the kind of industry is evolving. I think, Joy, you mentioned you didn't intend necessarily to start your own business. Kind of how did we get to where we are now?
I was working at Giorgio Armani. I was the head of the interior design studio there, and I was constantly meeting all these celebrities all the time and having a great fun of it, But one of my clients, who I've since done 5 projects for, said, "You've got to leave here. You're working within an Armani aesthetic. You have to start your own business." And I said, "No." And he says, "No, really?" And he was married to Mr. Armani's niece. And he went back to Milan and told them I was leaving the company. And I started getting these calls, like, "Oh, Joy, you're leaving?" I said, "No, I'm not." They're like, "Yes, we hear you're leaving to start your own business." I thought, "Oh, shoot. This is awful. I'm going to be out of a job, And it took me 6 months before I left because I kept saying, "No, I'm not leaving." And he was my first client. at the start of my business, and he's a VC, and he set me all up and all of that stuff, and I had to explain to my husband that no, really, it's just a professional relationship, like really, but and they're actually very good friends. And so that was the start of my setting up my own company. I had no intention of doing it. I always thought I was going to be a company girl.
Yeah, I guess you needed a push.
Yeah, and so I've since done 4 projects with him, one which is up on the screen, this English Madison here estate in Middlesex. That was in Architectural Digest some time ago.
Yeah, pure
Yeah.
beautiful spread.
And you, Raymond?
I forgot the question.
Just how did you get
Come on,
to
genius.
where you are today with your business, from a business? If you look back on
You know what's interesting for me? I always wanted to work for a big company like she did, but I never really did. I worked for Conran. I worked for Conran for 8 years, and I learned a lot there about merchandising. So I decided I wasn't getting the opportunity I wanted, so I'm going to open my own shop. And I started telling people I'm going to open my own shop. And people are like, how are you going to do that? You don't have any money. And it's like, I'm doing it. And I made up my mind that I was going to do it, and it just started to evolve. I opened a shop, and I was basically selling antiques and stuff because I could go to I don't know what you call them here, but we call them flea markets, and get things, and then fix them up. I paint everything myself, and then I opened a shop, and people really liked it because I'm a genius, and it led to getting a lot of press.
The editors love it,
Yeah, it had a really good critical acclaim. And it was just this little shop, and it looked like an apartment. Nobody had ever done it before. So I was like, I have something here, and I got some advice from one of the editors in New York Magazine. She said, you need to diversify and do more small things if you want to get more press, because you need product placement and magazines. So I listened, and I did that, and that evolved. And then eventually, Margaret Russell from Elle Decor, she said, what's your apartment look like? And I said, it's gorgeous. It was fine. My apartment was you know what I have in my apartment? I had very little money. So I took raw flooring sheets, and I cut them in half, and I made my own curtains using it's some kind of sewing tape. I don't know how to sew. Sewing tape, and I ironed it, and then I made curtains. And I painted the whole place myself. I built bookcases myself. I can't do any of that stuff now. But it was really pretty. And it was a cover in Elle Decor, 2006, I think. And that led to me getting clients, and it just took off.
And how different do you think the landscape is now? I know.
Oh, I think it's different with press.
You can go. No.
I think that press is different now. There are a lot more people doing interior design. I don't feel like any of the people are my competition, because nobody really does. We do different things. Look how glamorous that is. It's Joy, right? She's really good at making a really sophisticated aesthetic, right? That's a compliment.
Thank you, Raymond.
She's really good at it. And she's also very technical. She understands the architecture and all the rules and stuff.
That's from my architectural training.
Yeah. I don't necessarily understand that, but when I don't know something, I just don't talk.
That's very smart.
I'm okay, sure. And I'm
My mother
what
tried
is
to
that?
teach me that years ago.
Yeah, there's that one word, I know it's one of your questions, but there's this word called architrave, and there's, the builders are going to do an architrave, and I was like, I don't know what that is. It just looks like a molding around the door.
Yeah. Well, then that was both my questions. I was going to just talk to you both about projects here,
Yeah.
the US versus UK thing, because of the globalization of design and the way we're all looking at inspiration from everywhere. How different do you think the way we approach spaces is kind of in Britain and in the States?
I've been working here for a number of years, and to me it goes back to the craftsmanship, mud construction versus sheetrock, applying a sheetrock to some studs, and just the process of construction, I think is, just very different. I think as a result of the degree of achieving craftsmanship, more time goes into the construction here than in America, where we throw up some studs and some sheetrock, and you want to move on quickly. Everything here it's a process, and it's truly constructed here for a sense of longevity.
Yeah.
That's my general sense. But I find it much easier to work here to a large degree. I find the teams here much more respectable, much more patient, where in the US it tends to have a much more sort of aggressive nature. Even interacting with people is very sort of aggressive for no darn reason. And it's really troublesome to me. So I'm much more relaxed when I'm here, even with achieving the same goals that I would, quest to achieve in America. I just think, for me, that's it. I think things are built here with more of a sense of history and longevity. And again, it goes back to the craftsmanship.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think people
There's a
care.
sense of perfection that people go for here, where, and I sound like I'm killing America, believe me, but I mean, these are things that are important to me. Someone else would say something totally different, but I often think that in America, there's a sense of things being built with the sense that, oh, it's okay, fine. That to me breeds mediocrity, not having a sense that you're putting your soul into something. And here, when someone constructs something, I really feel like they put
Right.
their
It's
soul
so
into it.
funny because a client the other day, she sent me a picture of the bathroom because she lives on Long Island and they installed the wallpaper. And I said, it looks fine. She goes, we're going for better than fine. And it's like,
See what I mean? But
yeah.
if you accept mediocrity, that's what you're gonna get.
Yeah, it's so funny.
But you're a genius.
I think
so.
I am a genius, as we already said. We're gonna kill that joke. Right? People in America, we're not patient. So I think that she's right. We want everything right away. And if you tell somebody that you're gonna have to wait 4 months for like a table to be handmade or something, they're like, what else do you have? So I think here people have more of a sense of history, like she said. Like they're thinking the past becomes part of the future, but in America we're thinking what's new, we want the new thing, and I'm being very general. And my clients, they don't care. They're just like, how fast can we get it? How much does it cost? That's what they care
And
about.
as designers, if you're faced with a space that doesn't have a rich history, new build or show home, how do you imbue a sense of history or personality when you are faced with those kind of spaces?
I mean, you could create it with architectural elements such as plaster skirtings and cornices and all these sorts of things. Bring antiques in, work with craftspeople to create things that have a sense of heritage and longevity to them. And of course, there are wallpapers and all sorts of decorative materials that exude a sense of heritage and culture to create these sorts of environments. I mean, you can look at this space by Timothy Golding
Gosling, yeah.
downstairs. You walk into that room, you have no idea that a week ago there were just white walls there, and you walk into that space and
Yeah.
you think you're in a
In a
17th
castle,
century castle somewhere. And that's a pure example, I think, as an answer to your question about how you do that.
Yeah, and what if you haven't go to the references? Obviously Tim's referencing the chateau. He's restored.
Here's the thing, the library, going beyond Google, spending time in the architectural books, and doing actual research by touching books that are bound pages with images and drawings in them, That's how you do it,
Yeah.
Going beyond Google.
That's so
And doing real research, looking at these wonderful architectural documents, because before there was AutoCAD, there was pen and ink and sketches. That's how these old buildings were truly constructed. And people don't spend enough time in the library. The thing I value most in the world, other than it's not a thing, of course, no disrespect to my husband, is my library card. My library card, I still go to the library and sit in the corner, in the dusty corners, and ask for the historical leather-bound books on architecture, and that's how I do my research. I would go to Google. That's how you really learn something. And that's why I'm technical, because I spend a lot of time in the library.
Yeah, it's very technical.
Rayman, what about you?
I don't do any of that. I'm inspired by movies and things like that. People don't really come to me to evoke the past. It just doesn't happen. But I think what people come to me for is a sense of ease in a room, and I think I know how to create a room that has a combination of enough different elements that makes it feel like it was always like that, even if it's new and like fresh, or it feels comfortable and it's safe. I think safety is a big issue, especially after COVID. People want to feel safe in their homes, and I think that I have a way of creating that illusion of safety or security or references from childhood or something like that. but it's not really for me about antiques, and I don't know what Joy knows because she's technical, and she said, but I do know how a room makes me feel, and it's the most important thing. If I see something that doesn't feel right, and I'm like, that's not the right thing, you know.
And both of you have talked a bit about clients. What's the biggest challenge with working when you kind of create dream spaces, which is what we're here to talk about? What do you face when you've got with a client?
You never really know what's in someone's head. You know, different things mean different things to different people. And as you say, safety, if a client says, oh, I want to feel safe in my home, what does that mean? What does that look like?
Yeah.
You have to go back into the crate of their childhood to know what does safety mean. And someone says, I like blue. Well, what blue?
Right.
There are so many blues. Sometimes you could put 14 blues on the table and it's not the blue. Well, that's not quite the one, you know?
Yeah.
So you really have to spend a lot of time really listening, spending time with people to sort of see what truth, is emerging from these conversations. And I think the success of any design project is really, from a client relationship, is the listening aspect. And a lot of times, we're working on multiple projects and we just want to get something done. And so you don't necessarily hear everything. You can listen, but you don't hear everything. And, especially with Zooms, it's a great opportunity because I record all my Zooms so I can go back and listen to exactly what was said. And so much of that can be lost in translation on a regular phone call. Yeah, I like blue. Oh, she said light blue. You can miss so much. So again, I'm very technical, and documentation, is my Bible. I think
That's really funny that she said that because I hear what I want to when people tell me what they want. I hear the stuff I want to hear.
We have different lives.
And yeah. But I have Kevin who listens to what they're saying, and I'm like, she said she likes this, and we're gonna do this and this. As soon as somebody says I like pink, and I start thinking in my brain, I'm gonna do this with this and this and this.
You're thinking
and then I start sketching and stuff, and yeah, exactly. And then Kevin's like, she didn't say that. What she said is that pink is one of the colors that she likes, but she also likes purple or brown. I think clients are funny. Getting to know people is important, I think. But I think that I've been the kind of person that kind of pushes my aesthetic a little bit onto people because I want everybody to live in a colorful room, but it's not for everybody. But generally people come to me for that, so I think they want to be pushed.
Yeah, we know you as a pattern lover.
Yeah.
And you also use the word pattern. Do you have any kind of, use the word rules, but rule that.
Rules, yeah.
Or in terms of when you're kind of incorporating patterns.
Yeah, different scales.
Mm-hmm.
You want to do different scales. And what I do a lot of times is I'll do I have Susie Bellamy in the audience, and I use her fabrics a lot. If I use something bold like a Susie Bellamy, then I'll do a solid velvet on the back of a cushion, so then if you want a break, you can turn it over. I even do that in my apartment. I turn it over to a solid linen or a solid velvet on the other side. I think that you have one large scale pattern and you have a smaller scale pattern. If you want to do another pattern, then it should be something that reads like a stripe.
Okay.
But not like a white stripe, depends on the size of the other thing. You want to have different scales of patterns. And I know this is not helpful, but that's why you have to hire me.
That's very helpful.
No.
Joy, what about your approach with pattern?
It depends on the project. I mean, for this English project that I did, it's the world of pattern, of course. But for other clients, they may say, I really don't like pattern. And so one way I like to introduce pattern is what I did downstairs in a little Tatler space, is to have a solid color, but it's embossed with a pattern. So that's a way of introducing pattern without having pattern. It's a more architectural, geometric approach to it without having, a whole lot going on. This project here, which I think you'll see in the next image as well, it's a world of pattern. And then after doing that project, I just really needed a break because there are, 40 rooms in there, and there were patterns all over the place. So I was the world of solid for 2 years because I think my eyes were about to fall out. But because that's what the client wanted, and again, it's listening to the client and
That never happens to me. I love patterns. I never get to do that.
Yeah. We're almost out of time. Well, we've got time for your questions. So I think I'll hand over. There's going to be a roaming. Oh, thank you. Microphone. So please, what questions would you like to ask Rayman and Joy?
We talked about kind of clients and sometimes your vision versus what their vision might be. How do you get clients to think big and
Come to
because
the
quite
wild
often they
side.
have preconceived ideas of what they want.
I
Do you
mean,
take the big ideas to them or do you build them up to them?
you kind of have to level it up, work in sort of layers about getting there. It's a lot of communication. Again, it's understanding exactly what it is that they're trying to get to. And if a client describes one thing, I'll put 3 very different samples on the table. If a client, for example, says they like pattern, I'll have a very small pattern, a medium size, and a larger scale, and have them point to the one that they like, and that tells me like what scale they're really thinking of. Or I'll have a solid fabric, but it might have a little ticking. One may have ticking, one may be floral, one might be something that's very sort of like a hunting sort of tartan or something. And you have to just keep showing samples to understand what exactly that they're looking for, because pattern is different to some people.
Yeah.
You know.
Every word,
Every all of
word, like colors, or
Yeah.
like you said, like the blue thing, it could be like aqua. One client, they're like blue, it's like aqua. It's like, that's green.
Yeah. And the husbands, or the men I should say, are always usually colorblind.
Yeah.
So, yeah, my male clients often say gray, and the gray is really forest green. So you really have to give them samples for them to identify what is really what. Yeah.
Hi. We were talking earlier between us about the fact that there are so many showrooms in the States, but here it's not really a thing. And we were trying to figure out why, and we were discussing perhaps it's because the idea of a decorator is so omnipresent again in the States, whereas here not so much. And I just wondered what your thoughts were with regards to both.
That's interesting. I didn't know decorators were omnipresent.
A lot of people in America use interior designers,
Yeah.
and not so many people use them here as much.
Really? But we've got this whole design center.
I know, but in
Who's
America,
using it?
everybody has a decorator, whereas here, fewer people do, I think. And that's probably why there are more, showrooms, concepts in the States, and here, this is the second year only.
I think in the US there's a much stronger divide between the trade and the consumer, whereas here people might be working with interior designers, but it's a much more merged industry.
Yeah, that's true. My clients don't shop with me. I mean, I don't really do that. Like, if you keep it separate and you go get them things, you show them different patterns or whatever. I don't like shopping.
I have clients that love to shop with me. And,
Of course they do, because your personality.
It's time consuming. I usually like to give them maybe 2 days of shopping and then say, wear them out by going to 20 showrooms in one day. So they say, okay, I can't do this anymore. And then they really understand like why they're paying your fee.
Right.
Because they're just like, I don't know, this is too much going on.
It gets overwhelming.
How do you like edit this? You see 100 things a day and I can't do this is crazy. You just do it. Yeah, right.
Yeah, I did it wrong.
So
But
there's definitely a methodology.
But to answer your question about, I think that in America we're a lot more showy and a lot more people do hire interior designers. I think that people really want people to know that they have good taste. I think, this is what I say about all my clients, I think the reason people hire interior designers is because they don't want to be wrong. Like since we're children, we don't want to be made fun of, we don't want to make a mistake. So they want somebody else to be responsible for that choice, and we can do it, right?
I think it's also the scale of the industry. The scale of the industry in the US versus...
Maybe Europe, not UK, let's say.
Yeah.
To reframe the question.
Yeah.
Right, I think people here care about design, the general public really
It's
cares.
investment on the part of the designers, and we're used to invest. So you become used to investing back into your business with things that are, a
That's true.
commitment.
Because you don't have showrooms in other European countries either, really. Not like the States.
Not that I'm
You compare
aware.
a
Yeah, I don't
concept
think so
with
either.
precedent.
And part of it's real estate too. Like in the States, they do it a lot.
Could you give her the mic, please?
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I was going to say, I think it's a lot of real estate too. Like we have more real estate,
Yeah.
and it's also some of
the idea behind the showroom is also selling that real estate.
Yeah.
So they do it a lot in new builds, they do it a lot in houses that are on
On
the
the
market.
market.
And there's just more space.
Yeah.
too.
It's something that I definitely would love to continue seeing here. I think it would also be interesting to have an estate here in the UK and have designers come in and do that. I would like to do that too.
That would be cool.
We'll tell
I
Claire.
think that would be a lot of fun. I think with anything, the more prevalent it is, it catches on more. I think it's a wonderful way to showcase the makers here, both internationally and from the UK. And I think all of those things, essentially support our business and our business models and provide more awareness to the consumer and of course design professionals as well.
Yeah.
It's a valuable entity.
What's so inspiring about the edit that you have this year is how international the designers and the brands and the kind of products included, I think.
Yeah.
It's a vast array, and I think it's a wonderful degree of just versatility and expansion across the board. The thing that I love about the rooms here is that there's no duplication.
Yeah.
I think the perspectives are all very, very different given the same parameters of floor walls and a ceiling regardless of the sizes of the rooms. There's such diversity that's present, and you truly feel as though you're on a journey from Mark Sykes' entry foyer to that back pink kitchen, as you wander through. It's a real sense of discovery and application, and I really think, people are going to walk away with a sense of wow,
Yeah.
Yeah.
goal met.
I agree.
Any other questions? Yeah.
Thank you. First of all, apologies for being late on the wrong train. Thank you very much, both for your talks. How would you say, both of you, your interior styles have evolved over the years of you being in business?
I used to be really crummy and now I'm really good. Now, I'll tell you what's evolved for me is my clients I've gotten better clients, not better, but wealthier clients. So I have opportunities to do a lot of things I couldn't do before. But I also think that I learned from my mistakes in the past, like measure twice, cut once. My first project I ever did, the sofa was too big for the living room, and I learned that lesson. So now I'm really paranoid about sofas. I'm like, did you check the dimensions, blah, 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 because if it doesn't fit in the elevator and it doesn't fit in the room, then I'm gonna look like a fool.
Yeah.
So,
Sofa doctor.
yeah, so I'm better at that, and I also have more help. I used to do everything myself, and now I have people helping me, so it makes a big difference. But I also think I'm a little bit more, I want to say sophisticated, but I don't want to sound pretentious. I'm a little bit more sophisticated when it comes to design. I mean, I went to school for design, I'm a genius. I went to school for it, right? And I have a degree, but I thought I'm just going to do Mies van der Rohe stuff, and that's not what I do at all. I do like the most romantic, like pretty, like upbeat rooms, and a lot of bohemian layers and stuff. But I didn't know who I was when I first started. I thought I was like Bauhaus. That's who I thought I was. It's funny. You never know.
And what about you, Joy?
The only thing that changed for me really is less sleep throughout my career because I work a lot as well on international projects. My morning starts often at 4:30 in the morning doing international, and then as the day continues, I start to work on domestic projects. So it's less sleep. I do obsess about the technical aspects of things, and I still do a lot of stuff myself. Because I have a problem with kind of letting things go.
Yeah.
Control, you sound like my husband. Come on, man, not that word. And I don't know, the thing that is consistent is that I still am passionate about the industry, even though there are days I go absolutely insane and say this is enough. I step away, take a walk, and the next morning I'm like, let's go. So I think that's why I'm still here, is that it's something I'm still passionate about, and I think that there continues to be such interest in the manufacture and creation of new things. I won't say trends because I don't follow them, but I think that's an invigorating thing, and that I'd rather focus on the constants than the changes. But yeah, the changes, less sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we have time for one more question. Thank you.
Hi, I'm from New York as well.
Hi.
Do you have any advice for how to incorporate the fun and emotion in residential design and incorporating that into commercial and corporate interiors?
I
The
do that.
fun,
Yeah, like the emotion. I know like corporate interiors are a lot more limited by building codes and things like that. So is there any advice on how to incorporate fun?
I worked on commercial projects and I've worked on hospitality projects and residential projects. And I think the common thread throughout is you're essentially still creating rooms that make people feel good. So even with contract, you have to deal with particular limitations of technical, limitations with fire hazards and, high usage textiles and, all these sorts of things. So they may not be as fancy, gracious, generous, luxurious. But if you create an environment that reads that way, that's going to carry through, be it commercial or residential. And the scale is always important. Particularly in a commercial project, if you're working on a lobby that's 20 feet tall, you have to work a little harder with your selections and wall treatments to make a space feel cozy and inviting. So maybe you bring that ceiling down by having more color on the wall and then sort of create interest in the ceiling so it doesn't feel as vast as though you're walking to the V&A. You walk through the front door. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, I've done lots of corporate interiors. I kind of, for 5 years, worked on corporate interiors for Verizon and Yahoo and AOL. And my whole goal was to make it feel more residential. That's why they hired me. And I think my goal every time I walk into the spaces, I want the people who work there to say, wow, I work at this place, it's really cool. So I always think, what can I do that's dramatic in one corner and then keep everything else super conservative, like, everybody wants them to work in an environment that's clean, like you said, everything has to be code. Almost all the fabrics in America are like fireproof, except for California, right?
California is really
Yeah, but having a moment where you walk up the elevator and you're like, wow, this is where I work. So that was always my goal. And you can see on our website, there's some really cool pictures of stuff I did like 10 years ago. But it still holds up, I think. But nobody goes there anymore because nobody will go back to work.
Nobody goes to the office.
But we spend a lot of time and money creating like little moments, like little living rooms and little dining areas where people just sit with their laptops and work,
Now, we are out of time, but before we finish, because Rayman and Joy are so fun, we are going to do another game, which is just 3 questions for each of them, which aren't about interior design, they're about just themselves. So, I'll ask you both the same
Rayman will
question.
answer first.
So, Rayman, you go first.
You go first.
3, they're really quick questions.
Okay.
Rapid fire.
Mm-hmm.
Favorite food?
Oh, chili is my favorite food. I don't really eat it anymore because I'm, trying to stay in shape, but it's my absolute favorite. I grew up with it. It's the one thing my mother knew how to cook correctly, so it became my favorite food.
Joy?
Chicken tikka masala.
Oh, nice.
Wow, you're sophisticated.
I love Indian food.
One person dream dinner party guest.
Oh wow, Angelina Jolie. I love her.
Well, he'd have to come back from the dead, but Andre Leon Talley.
Oh, I love him too.
Too bad.
And lastly, one song on your playlist or what music are you listening to?
I'm listening right now to this Rita Ora song called Praise You. It's a cover of the Praise You song and I listen to it like on repeat, like all the time when I'm in a car, like an Uber or a taxi from the airport. I'm just playing it over and over. I love Rita Ora. I know it's, what do you call it when you like can't really sing?
A tone deaf?
No, that thing that makes it sound like
Auto-tune.
auto-tune, yeah. But I love that song. It's like very clubby. So I listen to it like over and over.
And you, Joy?
It would be Beyonce Cozy.
Oh, I love that song. I'm comfortable in my skin too.
Comfortable in my skin. I know who I am.
Thank you both so much for being so generous with your time and your insight. Thank you for coming.
I'm comfortable from
session.
We're
Thank
not
you.
done yet.
It's been so upbeat. Let's do it again.
Sure.
Honestly, Joy and Raymond, you have a passion for design, and
Yeah.
you're thoughtful, but you do make it fun, honestly. Joy, your love of craft was absolutely palpable at the start of the session, and I love what you said about Joe, your Thatcher. You said you brought soul to the space.
Yes.
Raymond, we loved hearing about your experimentations with colour. Every 4 months that shop was changed. Crikey.
Yeah.
They're highly individual, your interiors, but goodness me, they're deeply comfortable and they're incredibly inviting, and they're the sort of places you really want to stay and you feel at ease. Raymond, I love the fact you can wear a t-shirt, you can wear jeans, but a tuxedo wouldn't be out of place either. And Joy, honestly, you said that interiors should be places where you feel like you've been hugged. I kind of feel that we've been hugged by you both this
I think we've been hugged by Joy.
Thank you for such a lovely session. Thank you, Sarah. Really, that's so beautifully. And thank you.
Thank you for